February 12th, 2026, and I call this meeting of the Driver Training and Traffic Safety Advisory Board to order. My name is Carlos Reyna. I'll be the presiding officer for this board, and I want to start off like we do every time. We got to remind members of a few basic requirements for participating in this meeting. First, we ask that you please mute your microphones and turn them on only when speaking. Secondly, please announce your name when speaking. That way we can record who is actually speaking, so forth. And lastly, we ask board members to stay on camera when the meeting is in session. That way we ensure a quorum is present at all times. So are there any questions about these requirements? No questions? Okay. I'd like to call Angela to do roll call and announce if we have a quorum.
Yes, sir. Dr. Nina Joe Saint,
Present.
Matthew White,
Present.
Adam Legler,
Present.
Rudy Martinez, David Bruce,
Present.
Elizabeth Madden,
Present.
Anna Freeman,
Present.
Jesse Urban,
Present.
and presiding officer Carlos Reyna.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Members, you were provided the minutes of the November 12th, 2025 meeting in the materials that were sent to you for this meeting. Are there any comments or questions on those minutes? All right, so since there are none, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented, please.
I make motion.
I moved the minutes be approved.
Do I have a second?
This is Jesse. I second that motion.
Thank you, sir. All right. Angela, please do a roll call and announce if the motion passes, please.
Yes, sir. Dr. Nina Joe Saint,
Yes.
Matthew White,
Yes.
Adam Legler,
Yes.
David Bruce,
Yes.
Elizabeth Madden.
Yes.
I believe I heard you say yes. It's very faint. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Anna Freeman, Miss Freeman. I'll come back. Jesse Urban,
Yes.
presiding officer Carlos Reyna.
Yes.
Okay, one more time. Miss Freeman. I'm not sure if she can hear me, but even without her vote, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, now we move on to the public comment section of the meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must submit an email by following the public comment instructions found on the last page of this agenda or located at the TDLR website. And they must be submitted to the board by noon the day before the meeting, and the TDLR offices are not open for submitting public comment. And the Driver Training and Traffic Safety Advisory Board did not receive any request to give public comment for this meeting. And that brings us to our staff reports. So if staff is ready, we can start with the licensing division, and I call on Christina Guerrero.
Good morning, everyone. Thank y'all for having me. My name is Christina Guerrero. I work in licensing division on the tools team. I am the team lead here. We process the driver education instruction applications, and what we've provided is for fiscal year 2024 and for fiscal year 2025 and for the first quarter of the fiscal year 2026. We've also provided our fiscal year 2025 emails and the first quarter of our fiscal year 2026 emails. Most of our applications are done online for new applications and renewals. And if you have any questions or concerns, I'll be happy to assist you.
Members, any questions? Anyone? All right, then let's go ahead and move on to Director Ford Strawn for Education and Examination Division. Ford?
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman and members. Michael Strawn, Education and Examination Director. Happy to give you our report this morning. What you'll see up first is our driving safety provider counts from FY25 to FY26 and the driver education providers. You'll see that they pretty much are well within line. Only one difference in our driver education providers, and we went up just a handful, about 5 driving safety providers overall for the number of transactions that were done. You will see also we've highlighted the number of driver education and safety certificate orders that our team has sent out. This is a team of 4, and so sending out 1.4 million orders, almost 400,000 for this fiscal year already. It's a huge undertaking. So they do a fantastic job on everything that's getting ordered, maintaining those databases, and everything else. So scroll down for me, please. And here we've highlighted the emails that we've been getting here. I know we haven't really brought this information forward before, but we kind of wanted to show all the work that our team's doing, answering your emails, how often y'all are having to contact us. Last year, they ended up doing 1,300 emails from the driver education and traffic safety industry. And if you look on this year, we've actually had higher numbers of emails for each of the respective months. Now, for myself, I always want to see less. Less usually means that there's less confusion or less questions that have to go on. We want to be able to answer all of your questions, put better information out there. But we realize that there may be changes to legislation, other things that may impact this as well. But we're here to serve you all, and our team is on top of this and current on all of their emails for our driver education and traffic safety questions that we're getting. And then below that, we have our driver education updates, 89th legislative session. Senate Bill 1366 was passed during this 89th legislative session, and the bill requires each driver education course or driving safety course completed on or after September 2026 to include information about driving in construction or maintenance work zones. Our team sent out a statement of assurance application. This needs to be submitted along with curriculum once those rules are adopted. And TDLR continues to implement those revisions to Senate Bill 1366. We'll provide advanced updates through our social media Outlook, listserv channels, our webpage, and any other communication that we're able to do, any of our outreach efforts that we have. Continuing education audit processes. House Bill 1560 repealed the continuing education approval process. The Education and Examination Division no longer approves continuing education courses as effective. At this point in time, entities can still offer the continuing education from licensed instructors, but these courses do not need to be submitted to TDLR for approval. Instructors are still required to complete their hours of continuing education and submit and have those upon renewal. They can be subject to audit, and so we tell everybody, please make sure that you keep those records on hand, because if our auditors come across, you're selected, you will need to provide those at that point in time. There is information on our website, a kind of walkthrough about the audit process and a video that was out there for that process as well that anybody can go watch and learn more about how our auditing process works here at TDLR. And then lastly, we have the driver education and driving safety bond requirements. We just want to take time to remind the industry about the bond requirements. We continue to see bonds that do not meet the standard requirements. The bonds do need to be in the amount of $10,000. This has been long-standing, but we still see them coming in various amounts. And driver education providers must submit a driver education provider bond, and driving safety providers must have a driving safety bond. We see sometimes one or the other gets submitted for the other. If you hold both license types, you will submit a separate bond type for each license type. There are different forms out there for each. And then the bond dates must correspond, of course, with the license date, and the bond must reflect those dates on there. All bonds submitted to the department need to have the exact name of the school, not a summarization of your school's name or anything else, the full legal ownership, and the physical school address. We're really seeing a lot of the changes here, and our team is looking at ways that we can make sure that this is a little bit more clear on our website, or even simplify the bonds altogether to provide a better experience, so that we're not creating an RFI, a request for information, where we're having to send bonds back to providers at a higher rate than we intend. So if you scroll down for me real quick. Okay.
That's all I have for.
Yeah, thank you. All right. And that concludes our report at this point in time, and I'm open for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ford. Good report. Members, any questions for Ford? Any questions at all? All right, since there are none, then we'll move on to the Customer Service Division, and we're going to call on Myra Rodriguez for her report.
Good morning, board members and TDLR staff. My name is Myra Rodriguez, and I am one of the managers in the Customer Service Division that oversees this program. As you can see here, we have the fiscal year 2026 contacts received in customer service. We have our email count as well as our call count for the first quarter of the fiscal year, as well as the December contacts. If you look in comparison to fiscal year 25, they're pretty much in line as far as like give or take a few, whether it's on phone calls or emails. And so we haven't seen any drastic changes on phone calls or received in customer service for this program. This concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Again, members, any questions for Myra? Any questions at all? All right, now we'll move on to the Enforcement Division. I'll call on-
Question.
Excuse me, yes, go ahead.
Do we know what the biggest topic is on the telephone calls?
I don't have the biggest topic for you right now on this. I don't know if we capture that data on what the topic is specifically. Normally, it's license status questions, but it could be parent taught. I don't have that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Myra.
Sure.
All right, Enforcement Division, call on Prosecutor Michael Jackson, please.
Good morning, board members. My name is Michael Jackson. I am a prosecutor for the Enforcement Division on the Transportation team. I'll be presenting the Enforcement Division report for you today. I'll be covering key statistics. The report today compares fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026 through the month of December. This means that this is looking at the same period of time for each fiscal year, which is from September 1st to December 31st. At the very top of page 1, you have the division's performance measures. You will notice that there is an increase in the number of case openings between fiscal year 2025-16 and fiscal year 2026, 26 openings. The number of complaints closed has increased between fiscal year 2025-22 and fiscal year 2026-27. The next section is the criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history. As you can see, the number of applications that are reviewed by enforcement has increased between fiscal year 2025, 194, and fiscal year 2026, 252. The next section details where the Enforcement Division's complaints come from, whether they are from consumers or from within the agency. The top of the next page, page 2, puts this information into a pie graph for you based on the number of cases opened from the complaints received just above. In the orders issued section, we did not have any orders issued when comparing the same time period for fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026. On the next page, top of page 3, you can see the breakdown of cases closed without disciplinary action. Finally, dropping down, we list the violations at intake, complaint opening, and between fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026, there has been an increase in the failed to pay dishonored check cases within the program. That concludes the Enforcement Division's report. I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Members, any questions from anyone for Michael? None? All right, then we're going to thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Let's move on to the Field Inspections Division, and with that, call on Lance Carolyn.
Good morning, board members. My name is Lance Carolyn, and I'm one of the regional managers for the Field Inspection Division. In front of you are the inspection numbers for fiscal year 2025 and for fiscal year 2026 up to December. Next page, please. I would like to just share some information with you all. During the September-December 2025 period, a total of 49 inspections were conducted, 19 which were pre-licensed initial inspections approved by Yanni. The following are the top 3 violations for all inspections in fiscal year 2026, which includes 84.80F. A driver training provider must not advertise without including provider name and license number as it appears on the provider license. Second one is 84.82B2. All driver training provider student enrollment contracts shall contain at least the following: the student's address, including city, state, and zip code. 84.100B, a driver education provider shall display a copy of the establishment's most recent inspection report issued by the department in a common area, lobby, or hallway location within the building in which the provider is located and accessible to the public without assistance or permission during all hours in which the provider is in operation. This concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question, Lance. When you all
Yes,
do
sir.
inspections, are the majority of them unannounced or announced?
They're unannounced. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Because I know some schools operate just half days or afternoons and so forth. That's why it sometimes helps to know when you all are coming, but I didn't know how you all were doing that.
Yes, sir. They're all unannounced inspections. There is a process to where we will leave you a notice of attempted form. And if y'all fill that out on the days and the times that you'll be available, we'll try to make that time in between those times and dates.
Gotcha. Okay. Members, any other questions from anyone? No other questions? Okay. I've got another, then I'm going to move on now to the agency update and call on Ford Strawn again. Did you cover everything on this, Strawn, or do you have more information here?
Good morning, members. No, I still have some agency updates that I would like to provide you. Some of them you may have already heard, but it's great to be here with you all this morning. And as you know, my name is Michael Strawn. I'm the director for our Education Examination Division here in the Licensing and Regulatory Services. We highlight that term because it's one you may not have heard before. It's new terminology because during the last legislative session, additional duties and assignments were transferred to TDLR, specifically the Texas Lottery and Charitable Bingo programs. You might have heard of them before. They moved to TDLR and are now a part of our agency. So that means now what we have is basically the licensing and regulatory side of TDLR and the lottery and charitable bingo side of the agency. Another big change here at TDLR was a new program created in the last session by Senate Bill 1036, which created the regulation of residential solar retailers, which will begin here in September of 2026. And that arose from issues with consumers entering into contractual agreements for solar installs in their residence and potential predatory practice concerns. Additionally, House Bill 4215 created a regulatory framework for delivery network companies, what we call DNCs. And these are business entities that offer or use a digital network to arrange delivery of food, beverages, or other consumer goods from restaurant or retail establishments to a customer, but does not include the delivery of products from the stores that produce that item for themselves. So basically, your Grubhubs and different delivery services to bring food or drinks to you wherever you are. Outside of those newly created programs, there were a few bills that impacted the driver education and traffic safety program. I believe y'all are aware of Senate Bill 296. I'll just highlight it quickly, which allowed for multiple citations issued during one traffic stop to be dismissed under certain conditions after completing a driving safety or motorcycle operator training course, assuming those offenses are eligible for dismissal. We also had House Bill 4904, which is meant to protect private property owners from civil liability for actions or omissions that occur during motorcycle instruction or instructor training conducted on their property. That was protection to apply to cases involving gross negligence, or does not apply to gross negligence, recklessness, or intentional misconduct, but it was to protect property owners during the motorcycle instruction. We highlight that because this board can, have some relationships with our motorcycle industry. And last in our big news and impacting you all, I'd like to talk to you all again about the TDLR Core project. Just so everybody's aware, TDLR Core is the name of our new licensing system. As you know, this agency has a habitual problem of inheriting a variety of different data systems, licensing systems, and programs as they're transferred to TDLR over the years. Some of those systems enable programs to perform tasks online, while other programs are stuck in paper processes. You all yourselves have been through this in the past with going from paper processes to one of our current systems. While that current system does have capabilities that y'all hadn't had before, it still has its limitations. And this new project is going to go over 3 years, and it will be released in waves, where certain industries will come into this, one wave at a time. So we're not going to move every industry in one big push. We're going to move them at a time. When y'all's industry is set to come into the core program, we will reach out to y'all, give you updates, allow feedback and different information on that as it rolls forward. But we're happy that we're going to be moving towards having one licensing system here at the agency. It should streamline things, bring about new system abilities that you all do not have in your current system, and really hoping to modernize our licensing systems across the board. And again, we'll provide y'all that with more information as your industry comes closer and closer to that. That concludes my report. I'm open to any questions you have at this time.
Members, anybody have any questions over this? Well, let me ask you, Michael Ford, how busy you all now with the lotto?
It's been a very, very busy time. Luckily from my position, not all of that work falls on me, but I feel for everybody above me because I know they've been really hustling to make everything align, from our HR to our executive team. They've been really, really doing a fantastic job of making sure that we have everything that we need to merge both of these agencies together. It was a fantastically large undertaking, even from the IT side, merging emails and systems and computers. So really, it was all hands-on, and I'm blessed to have not been impacted as greatly as they were, but they did a fantastic job to make that as seamless as possible.
Okay, well, any hints on how to hit the winning number?
Unfortunately, I do not know that.
All right. I'd appreciate it. Thank you much. All right. I think that concludes the reports. Am I correct, Angelica?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Then I think at this point, we're going to go ahead and move on to talk to Assistant General Counsel Mark Gladney, who's going to have discussion and possible recommendation on proposed amendments to the existing rules. So if you're ready to go, Mark, we'll let you take it from here.
Alrighty. Good morning. My name is Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel for the DES program, and I'm here to present the published rules for the department's bill implementation rulemaking to reflect the changes mandated by Senate Bill 1366. The proposed rules are necessary to address the legislature's required driver training instruction changes for the implementation of this bill for the program, which mandates driver training course curriculum include information relating to the dangers and penalties associated with violating traffic laws in construction and maintenance work zones. As such, we have modified rules 84.3, 84.500, 84.504, and 84.600. In addition, the DES program guides were amended to the 2026 editions, May editions, to reflect the changes mandated by the bill. The proposed rules were published on December 19th of 2025. The proposed rules and the public comments that we received, which were 2, are in your briefing materials, and we discussed the rule package during the November 2025 meeting. The public comment period closed on January 20th, and no changes were made to the proposed rules upon review of the public comments. Now, I do want to point out a couple of things in the rules briefly, and I'm going to try to share some screen with you. And if you wanted to follow along, it's in your briefing materials, and that's what I'm going to use to discuss the rules. Can you see on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm starting on basically on page 15 of your briefing materials. If you have those in front of you. I believe at the November 2025 meeting, when we presented the proposed rules to you, we did not at that particular time have 84.3 in there. So I just wanted to point out to you that the only change that we made in 84.3, which is materials adopted by reference, and this refers to the 3 program guides that we have. So the POIDE, the POI for the adult 6-hour course, and the COI for driving safety. All we did was we added the term May 2026 to update the edition from the December 2024 edition. That's all we did for the program guides in this particular section. So I just wanted to let you know, in case we did not discuss this particular section with you in the November meeting. Okay, any questions or comments on this section? Okay, hearing none. I'm going to scroll down. Hopefully you guys don't get dizzy a little bit here, because I need to go to the POIDE real quick.
What page on the materials? Do you know?
And that's what I'm going to get you to in a sec. It's page 55, I believe. Okay, I'm getting close, I think. Or actually, it may not be page. Is it page 55? It's close.
I'm seeing something on page 55 under.
Okay, I think I'm at page 55. Okay. This is in section 1.1.5, entitled Controlling Traffic Flow. Can you all see that? Okay. Going down to Q, where it says explain how students can reduce risk by legally and responsibly applying knowledge and understanding of laws and procedures for controlling traffic flow. We added a semicolon there. However, we forgot the word and. Okay, so we're going to include the word and in that particular section. And that should take care of that particular deal. Okay. Other than that, all of the program guides that you were given previously and are in the briefing materials, there are no other changes made to them. Okay. Any questions or issues related to any one of the rule sections or the program guides?
Mark, this is David Bruce. I've got a question.
Okay.
So thank you for explaining, and thank you for getting all this information out to us. But other than the correction of adding the word "the" and, as you just went through, and changing the date, all the other changes are specifically for the requirements of Senate Bill 1366, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Carlos Reyna. Mark, when will these officially go into effect?
According to SB 1366, they are required to be adopted by the commission by May 1st. However, The next commission meeting is March 24th. So it's possible that they may become effective before May 1st.
All right, thank you.
I do want to point out a couple of other things real quick here. And Mr. Bruce brought up a good point. We did make a couple of minor other additions. If you're looking at the screen right now, I believe it's on page 70. If you go to 4.2.2C, we added the term multitask, or actually we deleted that term. So that's a little bit, that's a little extra thing that we noted. Okay. Any other questions either on the rule sections or the program guides? Okay, hearing none, then at this point the department requests a motion to recommend adoption of the proposed rules with the addition that I made to 1.1.5Q. We're asking for a motion to recommend adoption to the commission with that that amendment.
Members, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to recommend to the commission to approve the proposed rules as presented, please.
Well, I'd like to put stuff on Yolanda's plate. She's caught unaware.
Can I get that again? I didn't quite catch who said that. The motion?
Liz?
Liz?
Liz
Okay.
Matt.
Sorry, Liz, you're a little faint on my side.
Oh, gotcha.
Thank you. And
All right, Liz, so that you made a motion?
Yes.
Yes, all right, now I need a second, please.
I
second that motion.
Mr. Wiggler?
Thank you. All right, if you would, then I guess Angelica, if you take roll.
Yes, sir. Dr. Nina Jo Saint?
Yes.
Matthew White?
Yes.
Adam Wiggler?
Yes.
Elizabeth Madden?
Yes.
David Bruce?
Yes.
Jesse Urban?
Yes.
Anna Freeman?
Yes.
And presiding officer Carlos Reyna.
Yes,
Your motion passes.
thank you. All right, I think we're still with you, Mark. I think we move on now for discussion and identification of topics affecting driver training operations and licensing for possible modification in work groups and maybe the agency strategic planning sessions, including but not limited to personal validation mechanisms for students enrolled in online driver training courses. So you want to give it a go?
Okay. Again, for the record, Mark Gladney, Assistant General Counsel for the DES program. This particular agenda item was added by GC at the request of some board members to allow board members and staff to identify specific topics for future examination in our DES work groups and for future attention by the agency for consideration in the upcoming strategic planning sessions a few months from now, and for possible legislative consideration in 2027. If we have existing laws that can address the topic, we'll most likely create and amend existing administrative rules as needed in our respective work groups. And we'll take them through the standard rulemaking process and include them in Chapter 84 of our DES rules. We have 4 work groups which will be enlisted to assist on those issues for which a rulemaking is the best option to make changes. Staff is going to meet to determine what topics or issues are best applicable to each work group. Not all the work groups may be employed for this process, but staff will meet and we'll go over the topics that you all lay out and the ones that staff may have, and we'll assign them to the appropriate work group. Another avenue that can be employed is through the strategic planning process. In the next few months, TDLR will be conducting a series of meetings in which the public will have an opportunity to submit their issues and identify state laws, rules, and/or regulations that may cause inefficiencies, redundancies, or impediments to the regulated programs. The agency will be examining the same things, including your public input during this period, and submit recommendations after review by executive leadership and the commissioners to the legislature. The legislature at that time may adopt legislation at the next session to address these concerns. These planning sessions do not have a firm date yet, but they are expected to commence in the next few months, and we'll certainly keep the public appraised as to when, because we welcome public input. Thus, this agenda item is intended to identify such issues, but it's not your last opportunity to express yourself. If you identify a topic today and have specific reasons for its inclusion, please try to keep it as brief as possible, and so we stay within the general bounds of the agenda item and time constraints. So, having said all that, like to open the floor to the board members to discuss and identify some items of interest and concern that you all may have.
This is Carlos Reyna. I submitted a list of 5 items that I believe fall under cleanup language that shouldn't require a new bill to change things, just simply fix the one that we've got. And there wasn't really any major ones, just a few things I wanted to touch on. One of them was trying to see if we can do something with to include hospital and rehabilitation facilities for licensing, because that used to be in the statute, but then we changed the last time we did a major change, they were dropped. And for hospitals like St. David's here in Austin and others, being a licensed provider is not possible for them. Okay, because of their structure, the way they're made up. But it sure would help us if we could do that for them, because that way they can qualify for TWC funding and so forth. And I work with St. David's quite a bit. In fact, I've trained their instructors also. And so they could use a lot of help with that. And then I was going to talk about maybe making some changes to maybe not having to do an annual renewal for providers and instructors, maybe every 2 years, to kind of match some of the other TDLR programs. And then also do something with the refund policies. There's a couple of refund policies that really are not applicable to driving schools, and they never have been. But there's still a carryover from the old proprietary school language that we're still burdened with. And I think we could make some of those changes without really having a big impact on protecting the public. Okay, so that's my comments on it. So if anybody else has something they want to add, please do so.
Yes. This is Nina Saint. And I'd like to add to the list the removal of observation in the in-car portion of the training. This is basically for the safety of the student. Been a big article out of Oklahoma where a student was an observer, and they ended up being into a crash and the observer was killed. And from the parent's point of view, the parent didn't even know they were in a car with another teen driver. The highest rates of traffic crashes with teen drivers, and ended up Oklahoma removed that requirement. And not all states that require driver's ed have a component of observation. It's something they do behind the wheel. But right now, if you look at how a vehicle is shaped, it's very difficult to view out the front window, out the side windows, to even see traffic when they're belted in correctly. So the only way to see is to move outside of the safety belt, which is putting that child in danger. So I'd like to see that brought in discussion at a work group.
Okay, this is Mark Gladney again. 9 on that issue. It may not be a good target for a work group, although we can probably discuss it because it is observation instruction is noted in the statutes, Education Code 1001-001 and 1001.101. So it might be a strategic planning session target, but we can certainly discuss in a work group, but I think that might be probably strategic planning.
Understand, when I talked to the governmental relations of TDLR, their recommendation to me was to bring it to the board, have it discussed in a work group, and have it brought back to the board to go forward to the strategic planning group.
Okay.
So I'm just following the steps TDLR told me to follow.
Okay, great. Mr. Reyna, did you also have a topic on the 10-day rule where a student misses more than 10 days of class to be removed?
That's part of the refund policies, the refund cancellation termination provisions. There is a provision in there in statute that says that if a student misses more than 10 days, the school is supposed to automatically start refund procedures, processes, and so forth. And most of the time, the parents are aware the child is not there, either illness or school activities or whatever. So they want to stretch it out. They don't want to be dropped in the program. This is one of those things that's been kind of semi-ignored for a long time because the parent doesn't want it and the school doesn't want to go through it. And so I would just like to remove that one part, okay, of that 10-day requirement, simply because it just really doesn't fit what we do. Okay, and the way we do it. And it used to be required that way because proprietary school language, statutes, and so forth. Most of the proprietary schools deal with government monies. They're paid for the courses, the training, and so forth. So when a student dropped out or didn't show up, well, then of course the government wanted the school to refund the tuition that they had paid, and understandably so. That's public money. In this situation here, it's not public money, it's private money. And so I think we shouldn't have that burden because it just really doesn't apply to us. I think everybody can understand that, okay? And I know there was also some concern about this open-ended refund thing. Well, we have kids that we give them a year to finish. And even like that, I'm gonna say a large percentage of them don't get it done in a year. But it could be 2 years later and they still want either a refund or for us to continue. And I don't know of any courses that allow you to have open-ended timelines like that to complete a course. Okay, and I don't think we should have that on ourselves either. So I'd like to see if we can tweak the language to allow, after a given time, refunds really are no longer applicable for that reason. But those are just a couple of them.
Okay. Are there any other board members that have any topics that they want to identify for work groups or strategic planning?
Liz Madden. So conversations about the portal. So I've had some opportunities to talk to a handful of owners and examiners in the industry, and just a couple things that they're hoping to see. And this is likely conversation for a work group, possibly also conversation with Mr. Urban as well. But things like owners having some kind of access to see into the portal, because with only the examiner being allowed to see, owners on the top level who have to keep everything organized are not supposed to be viewing it. There were also conversations about admin staff potentially having access to submit documentation on behalf of an examiner, since everything is done through the school and the school is held to account for all the submissions that are done and all the paperwork, and admin staff already view everything in relation to the paperwork.
Okay.
I know, so one last thing I realized, just also a bit more clarification to help owners and examiners figure out who would be eligible versus not, because a lot of times they find out once the person gets rejected through the TXT side.
Okay. Any other board members?
I was going to comment on what Liz asked for. This is Carlos Reyna. We kind of have discussed this briefly with DPS officials through Jesse and so forth. And we think that's something that we can bring up for discussion in the work group, but we really can't do much about it because that's a DPS issue. But maybe we can schedule to meet with DPS officials to talk about some of these things. We're hoping we'll be able to open the door to be able to do that.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else, any other members have comments they want to make?
Matthew White here. Could we just clarify what the concerns are for the identity verification processes?
Pardon?
Specifically mentioned, in this item is the identity verification processes. I was wondering if we could just clarify what those concerns are.
Which identification processes?
Well, from hold on, let me read it from the.
They all have no memberships. Maybe she's trying to redistribute so it's not all in order.
Okay, so it's mentioned as personal validation questions.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Mr. White. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or any other issues that members want to bring up? Okay. Staff has a couple of concerns that we may want to bring up either in a work group or with the strategic planning process. The first one is relating to school closures. This has become an issue of growing importance to staff. Staff's noted a number of licensees engaged in closure operations in which they're not closing in accordance with our rules and the law. And this is causing additional work and hardship on E&E staff, as well as problems that it's causing for the students and the parents who are left having paid full price for instruction, and the school suddenly closes and they're not getting what they paid for. So 84.40 covers the requirements associated with school closures. And a licensee that's closing their school has a obligation to give 15 days notice before they close, as well as making sure that all the student records and the school records are available to TDLR staff so they can go through this. But we are seeing schools that are just up and closing without complying with that particular rule, and it's causing a lot of trouble. We fully expect that the licensees are going to follow the laws and the rules that are associated with this. They're not optional, and failure to do so can result in administrative penalties and sanctions under Chapter 51 of the Occupation Code and 1001 of the Education Code. So what we're trying to relate out to the industry, that they really need to start following the requirements that are associated with these closures. Otherwise it is possible, and I don't want to speak for enforcement, but it is possible that the agency may have to institute administrative violation actions against these operators that are closing improperly, and possibly impose penalties and or sanctions. So this is an issue that I think that we want to talk about both in the work groups and possibly submit for a strategic planning initiative, so that we might be able to get laws that beef things up a little bit, because certainly in 1001, I believe it's either 401 or 402, the department has the ability to require an operator that improperly closes a school a full refund of everything that the student has paid because of a discontinued course. So it's something we want to bring attention to, and stress that you need to follow the rules and the laws if you are going to be closing schools. So that is one of the first issues that we have. And if there's anybody from staff that wants to make additional comments on this, they're welcome to do so, or board members.
But this is Adam Legler. I do have a comment on that. I know of at least one situation where one owner had their own operation. They partnered with another person for another driving school operation. That driving school went out. Those people didn't get their refund, but that original owner still was able to continue with his other business, and he's kept all that money. And but it doesn't seem right to the public.
This is Carlos Serena. I was gonna make a comment, and I actually proposed this back when we were with TA, believe it or not. This driver education, driving safety, and the rules we have to follow, they're getting less and less. Thank you, Mark, for that. But there's still quite a bit we need to know. And the problem is that the TDLR makes all the rules available, but unless you understand what they really mean, a lot of people really are not in the know of what they need to do, what they need to follow, so forth. I've always felt we should have, or there should be some type of training that either an owner, manager has to go through before they're licensed to be an operator, provider, and so forth, just to ensure that they're really knowledgeable in what their responsibilities are, what their requirements are, and that's where these kind of issues could be stressed, right? But I don't know if that we could have to do that in a cleanup bill to require that before somebody gets licensed. Now, how we'd go about providing the training, who would provide it, and so forth, that's a different issue. But I've always just felt that is something that a prospective owner should be willing to do and go through to ensure that they're going to operate legally and safely. Just my thought.
Michael Strawn, Director, Education Examination Division. So, Chair Reyna, I couldn't echo those sentiments any more than that. One of the things that I've tasked my staff with, and we're looking at, is proper training of any time we license a school. What does that look like? What materials do we make available to them? Instead of just, approving a license and hoping they understand and read the rules, what can we do better to inform our licensees out there of what their requirements are across the board? What are the common issues they run into? And that's something we're looking to tackle, whether that is better outreach, it's information when you get a license, like a quick start guide, videos that need to be created on the subject, or even potentially what we're doing in some other areas where we're having live sessions with industries to go over topics. These are all avenues we're looking to explore to make sure that the issues you highlighted and that Mr. Ladney highlighted are mitigated, because consumer protection, mitigating harm to the public, and especially in the financial sense, is definitely something that we want to mitigate as best as possible. And to the point that Member Legler mentioned, as far as somebody who is able to close a school, move, and take their money with them to another location. Yes, those are all concerns that we work with our enforcement division on, and we echo. Those are problems that impact our customers, our citizens of Texas, and I believe that we can do better across the board on there. So I don't necessarily know that better training and the information there, like you said, requires a rule or legislative change. But I think absolutely we could talk about it within the education work group on what would be the best way to reach your industry and what would carry the most weight to solve some of those issues. And it's already something we're looking at internally.
Thank you, Michael.
Ford, it seems like y'all are starting to do more pre-licensure inspections. Is that correct?
Well, we don't. For in-person schools, our field inspections division is doing all the pre-licensure stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah. So historically, I think that was one of the primary benefits of pre-licensure inspection. That became the mechanism of training and quality check for all those things. But I just noticed in the board materials that there were some pre-licensure inspections done. It seemed like. So I was just curious if y'all were moving in that direction.
Yeah, we can certainly talk about information's provided during those portions, what that looks like, and the information that's going out there. So I think anything is on the table across the board on what we can do. Certainly we want to make sure that anything that we're doing is not going to impact our partners over in field inspections. I'm sure the director for that one, for that division, if I was like, yeah, we'll have the inspectors give a full training and come and stop by the school, is not something that they have the staff or the time to do as well. But certainly we can take a look at what this looks like across the board. And that's why I just say any and every type of scenarios on the table for what we can do to better educate our schools that are out there.
Yeah, it's certainly a complicated deal, and I think we all understand that pretty well.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's just one solution either, and that's why I task my staff, and I recently just took over this division, and so we're just getting started on some of that. But the better communication, better information out there, even if it's quick start guides or information on our website that's more friendly. Those are all things that we can look at, but it may not be the singular approach. Whether it's a live session to host it for schools, it may not reach everybody. And so how do we get that across the board out to everyone, get that training out there? We could have ownership changes. Even if we did an initial on the pre-inspection, there's an ownership change. Are we going to go back out and do that same training there with that new owner? So even if we did it on the pre-inspection, we may not catch everybody. So it's definitely something to discuss.
Ford, Michael, I'll bring up also, this wouldn't be perfect, I don't think, but making a testing requirement part of the application process where the owner or director, whoever's going to be in charge, is actually tested over the rules, requirements, and things. And I think we'd at least get an idea how much they know or don't know to see if we can help them before they get into this. Because again, when a school does what was mentioned about closing, keeping money, really it reflects on all of us because it makes all of us look bad. And I've always been concerned about our industry image because unfortunately there were a lot of fly-by-nights, as we used to call them. Okay, and I'd like to keep as many of those out of the industry as we could.
Michael Strawn, Director, Education and Examination Division, Chairman Reyna. I certainly think that whether it's a jurisprudence examination or a full licensing examination, when we talk about strat planning and everything else, we know qualifications to come into this industry have changed many times over the years. And so if a jurisprudence examination, we talk about all these different things that could potentially help. That is one avenue that we certainly could make sure that people at least know the basics of the operations before they obtain their license. And so, those are certainly things that I think we can talk about within these work groups and strat planning for the future. And that is one tool within the toolkit that you mentioned there.
Matthew, I really agree with that, but I'd also like to add, I think that that examination process is possibly more valuable at the instructor level, licensure level, because I don't know of many school owners that aren't also instructors. So you could catch, everyone right there at that level. And I think it would be very valuable to test on operations as well as curriculum standards.
I agree with that, Matthew. The problem is that the statute right now currently pretty much says we can't put any conditions on instructors. And I would like to at least have that examination condition, but certainly why not for both ownership, instructor? Okay, all it does is protect the industry as a whole. And this isn't to control competition. I welcome good competition. It's the bad competition I have trouble keeping up with.
Yeah, Michael Strawn, Director, Education Examination Division. So yeah, as it was described, we could do both. You could have a jurisprudence examination for one or both, for the owner or for the instructor. You could do a full licensing examination requirement. We do it with many of our industries. We have an examination vendor where we're providing examinations, over 100,000 examinations across the state every day. And so we have the capabilities to do that. Again, as you highlighted, Chairman, that would require probably a statutorial change, something that we could strat plan and move forward with if that's something that the industry believes would provide additional security, safety, knowledge, and be a benefit to them. We have the tools and the capability to get that done. We have psychometricians on staff with our examination vendor. We would provide what we call exam review committee, where we combine subject matter experts to develop examination questions, items, score those, rate them on NGOF rating, and we have an entire process for the development of all of our examinations here at the department to make that an official process. So if that's something the board wants to pursue, I suggest that we talk about that within our education work group.
Yep. Carlos, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just add, I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, the owner needs to understand the requirements and the rules. If they don't my opinion is if they don't take the time to understand it going into the industry, if under this example, if they're having to exit the industry, something didn't work for them, I don't think that's when they're going to take the time to dive in and really understand the rules. So I think it's wonderful. And Matt, I do agree that the instructor level, but if we put it on the owner to know what his rules of operations, I kind of view it as the owner's responsibility to inform their employees and team members. But I think it's a very good idea from the director. So thank you.
Yeah, Matthew, I think it's kind of a whatever works situation, as long as we get it there somehow.
I agree. I believe that good ownership usually draws in good instructors, okay, because they don't settle for less. All right. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you for bringing that up, Mark.
Yes,
I
have a question. Do we know what percentage of schools close a year?
Michael Strawn, Education Examination Director. I don't know that offhand as far as a percentage, Ms. Saint. We could certainly look to get that to you. I don't think it's a large percentage, but I do know that when a school closes, as Chairman Reyna acknowledged earlier, some of these students are taking a year or two or further to complete their education. So one school closure often impacts hundreds of students, and when they're not following the procedures for closure, or they're just closing their doors with no communication, no refunds, and no process in which allows students even to transfer to another school, it impacts several hundred students each time. So while it may only be a handful of schools every year, it is a far-ranging impact to many students every time that it happens. But I'll certainly see if we can find numbers and percentages.
Well, I mean, being a small, I'll take the word small. This is not a saint, and I know there's, we can try all kinds of solutions, but some are going to close their doors and they know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
They're just closing their doors and they're just running. And I think it's not that they don't know the rules. They know they owe a refund if they didn't provide the service. I mean, that's probably one of the things they do know. But for financial reasons, overburden them and they close their doors. And why I say that is I just don't want us to burden the good schools. The ones that do it correctly in whatever you choose to do, which I know you probably, need to do something. I don't know what the answer is because, I've been in this industry way too long to know that you're not going to get those fly-by-nights. They're going to close their doors and they're gone. But they knew they owed a refund. But I just ask you, when you look at this and the working group, when they look at it, don't choose something that's going to burden the ones that are doing it correctly.
Michael
We
Strong.
don't need more burdens on us.
Or, I agree, Miss Saint. We definitely need to look at a practical approach. I kind of hear a multitude of different things that, necessarily adding an examination component or just prudence examination may not solve all of those things, but as Mr. Reyna highlighted, it could increase the quality of the instructors, making sure they understand the laws and rules that are out there. So we don't want to just increase burdens. Our agency's always been, as you've seen, about reducing regulatory burden, or, reducing the word count and the superfluous information that is and restrictions that exist within not only the driver education safety rules, but all of our programs. And so that's always a concern of ours, as is safety and making sure that we have these regulatory guardrails up in place. I think something you highlighted there, where they're able to close and run, is the same thing that our other member, Mr. Legler, highlighted earlier. And certainly there's an avenue to look at how we, mitigate that behavior as well. What guardrails can be put in place to prevent that from happening. And that's probably something to be discussed within our enforcement work group. And so I think these are all really good topics. We certainly will have a lot of ideas we could talk about. And we will definitely, in any rulemaking, any strat planning we have, make sure that we're not trying to impose an unnecessary burden on any of our industries. And, you all will certainly be a part of those discussions. So y'all will be able to help us make sure that we're not doing so.
Yes, and this is not a saying, and I will say I'm not opposed to an examination. That I've been on that bandwagon for a lot of years, especially since they took out instructor qualifications and any kind of training in the statute. But I just, don't burden the schools that are doing it correctly. That's just what I just want to caution. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Mark Gladney. I agree with pretty much everything that's been said here, especially Member Saint, Mr. Reyna, and Member Bruce's comments. I think it's important that, if we are going to go down this track, it's important to note that whatever we come up with, we have to balance, protecting Texans in general, as well as making sure that we're not creating barriers to entry into the industry as well. I certainly do understand that we do want to keep the fly-by-nighters out there, but whatever it is that we do, we have to make sure that we keep in mind those two elements that the legislature is very attuned to. In the almost 9 years that I've been in this program, we have worked hard. Staff has worked hard. This board has worked hard to try to distill these rules down to something that has been less complicated and a lot simpler. And I certainly welcome working with the work groups to continue along those lines. However, if you do want to get into this business or any regulated business, it is certainly my opinion that you should be aware of what the laws and the rules are. And we've worked very, very, very hard to get these rules down from as complicated and voluminous as they were when we first got this program, down to something that I think that we've really tried to simplify and make it a lot more understandable for folks, both the school owners and the instructors. So I just wanted to point that out. But um, everybody who comes into, whether it's this program or any other program that we regulate, they have an obligation to know the rules and the laws. And if they don't follow them, then they are subject to penalties and sanctions. Simple as that.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. On that note, I believe we have discussed that the 4-year review of rules is coming up, I think, that we're going to go through. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but if that's true, members, if there are rules you think could be simplified, changed, and so forth, let's try to do that. I'd like to try more taking out rather than adding as much as possible, because as it is, as voluminous, we've got a lot of them, right? So, but everybody's welcome to present those to staff, okay? On that note, I wanted to ask the question about the personal validation mechanisms for students. What does Mark, what do you and staff, have any questions or things that you wanted to address as far as that goes?
Well, this is an issue that was kind of brought to our attention, and you need staff step in, if you want to, or if I'm off on anything. But I think this has been brought to our attention in part by DPS, that there are some folks that I guess they're making a business of it, and especially in the online adult 6-hour courses. They're basically students are hiring these folks to impersonate them and take the classroom instruction portion of the course rather than the actual student doing it. Now, we do have rules, of course, that deal with personal validation mechanisms, and we may have to re-examine those in work groups and try to determine if they're robust enough, if they're reasonable enough. Certainly, in some circumstances, they may not be effective enough. But it appears that we may have at least some interplay between an actual student and someone else who's taken the course for that actual student. And it's becoming a increasing concern that folks that are taking these online courses, and so far I think we've just identified the adult 6-hour online courses, but we may have some imposters taking the classroom portion of those courses, and I'm not entirely sure what to do about it. And certainly that's going to be something that we discuss in the work groups, and it could be something that's fodder for the strategic planning sessions. But um, it is a concern, and staff wanted to bring this to your attention.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if you and staff have come up with any ideas on your own before we even get to a work group, or if you want to wait till the work group.
I think this is something we need to talk about in a work group, but it's a concern.
Okay, because I can vouch for what you're saying. At our schools, we have dealt with the issue where we know the person that comes in did not take the course. Unfortunately, it's usually a husband-wife team that comes in, and when the husband does all the talking, and we try to ask and talk to the wife, because we first off want to make sure that there's not a language barrier, because we run into that quite a bit. And when the husband won't allow them to answer because they're busy answering, we'll go so far as actually give them a written exam, at least over the traffic signs, the DPS, one of the DPS tests, just to see, can you take this test? And we have found quite a few that they can't take it, right? And so they don't know what they're supposed to do. And with that, we decline to give them instructions because we're going to jeopardize our instructor, the public, and so forth, and the person, because they're really not going to learn how to drive. All they want to do is pass a test. which, if anybody remembers, back when 9/11, all that happened, there was a big crackdown on people being able to obtain driver's licenses and so forth because they could get one in one state, go to another state, and automatically apply and get another one there. And for security reasons, we're talking federal security reasons, they got tough on it. And that avenue and vehicle is still there. It can still be used. And the license, obtaining a license incorrectly is one of the ways that they get around and get the documents they need for whatever it is they're trying to do.
Any other board members have any comments on that? Mr. White, I think you had made a comment earlier.
Well, earlier I was just asking for this clarification, which I appreciate. We do have that in driving safety education as well. Because no one wants to take their 6-hour course, right? So my course, we actually have kind of strict personal validation measures in place. We are using an AI tool for that. And I have caught a couple of folks in the last couple of months doing just that, not the correct person taking the course, and then they were expelled for that reason. Whoever goes to the work group, I just want to caution y'all that if technology is going to be, certain technologies are going to be used, such as AI tools, it will be important to balance the security, the data security risks of some of those tools with the implementation and the purposes of its use. Not all AI tools are the same, if that, to put that out there. So, it's a little bit of a murky ground to go through. There's going to need to be a lot of research there.
That's a good point, Matthew. Thank you.
This is Mark Gladney. Mr. White, I would certainly be interested to find out what AI tool that you might be using. You don't have to mention it now, but certainly, if you're able to offline, I would certainly like to know what that is. And it may be something that we might want to discuss in the appropriate work group. But I think we need to find some kind of solution or some kind of tactic, and maybe something that we can put in our rules. But this is apparently becoming a growing problem.
Liz Madden, one side of it to also start to think about, this is more on the enforcement side, is as we find these individuals who are making a business out of taking other people's 6-hour courses, figuring out a way where essentially, where if they're on like Facebook Marketplace or if it's on places like Etsy, the individual can either be fined in some way or at a minimum contacting the platforms and getting some kind of cease and desist for this kind of action or this kind of service.
And this is Mark Gladney again. It just kind of depends on, what the statutory authority is that we would have to do something like that. And whether or not TDLR would be the proper venue to do that. That might be an AG thing or, who knows. And again, we have to have the statutory authority, whatever state agency deals with that particular thing in order to drop a sanction on somebody.
Gotcha.
This is Nina saying that, and I'll agree with Liz, because I know at one time somebody was advertising on Craigslist that they take the course for them. So it's, yeah, we understand it's an issue. And we try the best to keep it out.
I believe that would fall in the statutory language about fraudulent use of certificates or issuing certificates and things like that, or participating in it. I don't know if we can add that to the cleanup language to see if we can add something to cover people who are doing this kind of business, we're going to call it.
Mr. Chairman, this is David Bruce. I was going to say, and Liz, I echo what you just said, but you're correct that there is fairly punitive, as it should be, in notifications in rule now, that if someone receives the certificate for a driver safety course under false circumstances, it is fairly punitive. So and that's always been very effective in my mind. So I think if you know, if the TDLR becomes aware of that, if we go after those people, the appropriate authorities go after them and enforce their current rules / law, I think that would diminish anyone's desire. I mean, Matt's right. Probably very few people can't wait to go start taking a 6-hour driver safety course. But when they look at the risk and reward, I think it's in a pretty good spot. But I think we just need to enforce the current rules.
Okay, I think that we probably probably talked on this subject about as much as we can do at this particular in this particular venue. Most of what we're talking about is going to be have to be hashed out at a work group, and I certainly look forward to meeting with y'all on some of these issues that we've discussed. This was a good discussion on some of these topics that y'all have identified, and it certainly gives us a good starting point for when we schedule work groups. I'm hoping to schedule a work group by the end of this month. I'm not entirely sure. It probably might be the curriculum work group initially, and that's Mr. Bruce, Ms. Saint, Mr. Urban, and Mr. Reyna. I'd like to try to see if we can meet with that group initially, and then, as I said, we have 4 work groups. We may not be meeting with all of them, but we may be splitting up some of the other issues with the other work groups, because I anticipate that we're going to have a larger work group to go through all of Chapter 84. I know we've done that before, but it's all part of the process to distill this chapter down even more than we have. Because if y'all remember, and I'm sure you do, that Chapter 84 used to be in excess of about 150 pages. And through your all's efforts and the efforts of staff, we have really been able to bring down the size of that chapter. And that's one of the things that I'd like to do with the work groups. Again, bring it down even more, make it clearer, make it simpler. And I know we're going to be able to do that with y'all's help. So that's getting off my soapbox now. That's all I have to say on this particular agenda item. Anything else before we move on?
Mark, do you think we would need one more work group to be over all of the changing of the rules, taking bits and pieces from the other work groups, or do you think what we have will work?
I think what we'll have will work, and then also we've got to remember about quorum issues and all that.
Gotcha.
So the 4 we got should work.
All right. Well, with that, then I'm going to go on to ask for recommendations for the next board meeting. Does anyone have any recommendations on items you'd like to add to the agenda for the next meeting? Anyone? All right. Now, as far as discussion of daytime location, I think Angelica, you'll poll the board at a later date for a future meeting. Do we have any idea when we may try to have one?
I would like staff to go over the topics that we discussed earlier, assign those to work groups, have those work groups meet. So
Okay.
maybe within a couple months, Mark, allow
Okay.
those work groups to meet. So we have something to report back to the board with.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
that this is Mark Gladney. I think that 2 or 3 months into the future probably would be a good time, especially since we're going to try to meet with at least 1 or 2 work groups to start work on this next rulemaking.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, are there any other questions or any other issues anyone wants to bring up? Hearing none, then I want to thank everybody for